Now I'm taking a couple.
How much did you put in?
3 forkfuls into 4 cups of water, which will create a concentrated beef broth. And then I will adjust the flavor by adding more beef broth and water as we progress.
That again?
I'm going to add a little bit of broth just to deglaze the pan and create a little bit of extra moisture to steam the carrots, but with beef broth. So I'm just stirring this up quickly. It doesn't have to be fully dissolved yet. I'm going to come back to it. I just need a little bit right now. And that allows me to get some of the brown bits off the bottom, get them up so that they don't burn. And I got a little spot over here that needs just a little. There. Okay. So I've driven all the flavor from the searing of the beef. Has now been lifted into celery, chives, onion, and carrot. At this point, what I want to do is add the beef back. As many good brown bits as I can. Stir that together. Gonna add peppers in. I want that next because that's got some moisture in it that will help to keep a little bit of moisture in the pan as I'm adding other things. So I'm gonna just stir that around. I'm gonna drop in all the beets. So all my, with the exception of potatoes, which I'm actually going to add when I get more water into the pot, I'm going to throw the beets in, get them coated with onion and celery and a little beef broth and all that beef stuff that's coming off of the beef itself, all the bits, and we'll just let that sizzle for a minute, and I'm going to add two ladles of our beef broth here, just to give us a little extra steam in the pot for the root veg. Okay, you can hear that bubbling in the bottom. That's going to give us some much needed steam here. I'm going to, now that I've taken some of the liquid out of my broth, my little broth interim pot here, I'm just going to add a little more hot water into it. Probably going to add like a full kettle or 2 of water. And actually, you can see that my jar is pretty empty. So I'm just going to add hot water directly into that so that I can get all the beefiness off the inside of that. You can hear our vegetables singing a little bit here. Temperature's good at 6.5 for now. I want to keep everything bubbling on the bottom. So we've got mushrooms are going to go in next because again I want them to reduce, which getting them into the pot, heating up, and a little connection to the steam is going to help them out. And I want them to get into this flavor before I start adding liquid as well. A little bit of liquid smoke, a little bit of tamari soy, and gonna add a little Italian spice, Italian seasoning. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of this buttery steakhouse Kinder's. It's pretty tasty. So, while you can hear things bubbling, start with some Italian seasoning. Probably maybe a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, somewhere in there. I'm going to take liquid smoke. I'm going to put, I don't know, 20 drops in. Take my tamari soy, put a little bit of that in. Probably a tablespoon and a half. And then the Kinders, probably another tablespoon or so.
Teaspoon?
No, that was more of a tablespoon. And then I'm going to mix that up, get all those liquids in contact with all of the dry. Try and get everything coated so it can again pull up a little bit of flavor before we drop the majority of the liquid in. Scrape as much stuff as you can off the side. You're going to get it all into your broth later on anyway, but and we're going to let that sit for another, oh, I guess one more thing, we'll add the beans, yellow beans. And give that one more stir. As long as we've got moisture on the bottom and things are still looking wet and you're not smelling anything burning, you're doing great. So let her roll. Okay, things have been bubbling for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna
Just
add
a sec, let me see that.
Smell it. And so I'm gonna add the cabbage, and then I'm gonna stir that around. I'm gonna add the potatoes, and then stir that around. Drop the heat and add the rest of our liquid that's prepared, and then we'll boil another kettle.
That's a half a small cabbage or half a medium cabbage.
How would you describe the smell so far?
Yummy.
That's a good descriptor. It smells beefy, but the sweetness of the beets is coming out. Working with the pepper, and of course the beef, which is crusted in flavor. Okay, I'm gonna toss that in. Potatoes, we're gonna toss those in. I'm going to put 2 ladles of water or broth in over top of that. And you'll see it's got some of the beef chunks from the broth in there. That's no problem. All good flavor. We want all of that. Okay. Okay, all of that is now melded in there quite nicely. I'm going to turn the heat down to 5.5. And we're going to add the rest of this concentrated container of broth. There's a little bit stuck in the bottom there, so I'm going to put a little more hot water into that. Might as well get all the flavor we can. And then I've also got the remnants from the bouillon jar. So we'll get all of that off, toss it in. I've got a little bit left in there, so we'll set that aside when the next batch of water comes off. Actually, we'll probably just go like this. All The one other thing that I want to add here at this point, just to cook around, I'm going to just slide. I'm going to add another one of our favorite Kinder's barbecue sauce. This is honey hot, so it's going to add a little concentrated barbecue flavor. I'm probably going to put like 3 tablespoons in at this point, something like that. And then we'll let that sort of gurgle into the liquid. And then once we've got extra water in, we'll adjust our seasoning based on that.